Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. The Philippine House of Representatives has impeached Vice President Sara Duterte. During a House session that seemed to have lasted all of 15 minutes, Secretary General Reginald Velasco confirmed the petition seeking the impeachment of Duterte, the daughter of the country's former president, received 215 signatures from House members to endorse the complaint to the Senate. It is more than the required support of more than a third of lower house lawmakers, paving the way for a trial in the Senate.
There is a motion to direct the Secretary General to immediately endorse to the Senate the impeachment complaint, having been filed by more than one-third of the membership of the House, or a total of 215 members. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Secretary General is so directed. The session is suspended.
Before 4 p.m. today, the House also ordered 3 previous impeachment complaints against VP Duterte filed by various groups to be archived. 11 members of the House of Representatives served as the prosecution team. These are Representatives Jervil Huistro, Romeo Acop, Rog Gutierrez, Joel Chua, Raul Angelo Bongalon, Loreto at Sharon, Marcelino Libanan, Arnan Panaligan, Isabel Maria Zamora, Lawrence Defensor, and Jonathan Keith Flores. Akbayan party list celebrated the impeachment of Duterte, marking it as, quote, the beginning of the Duterte dynasty's expiration from power, impunity, and plunder. While former Duterte spokesperson Salvador Panelo said anti-forces railroaded the impeachment process to destroy the reputation of the VP, but he expects the event to only galvanize support of the Filipino people to rage against the violation of the Constitution. We're also hearing from people on the ground at the Batasang Pambansa that supporters of the House members have stated their support for the impeachment of VP Duterte. We will continue to monitor developments at the House, the Senate, and across the nation as they unfold. Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Meanwhile, the Philippine government is ramping up efforts to stabilize rice prices and ensure food security, but not without controversy. With billions of pesos at stake in subsidies, price caps, and import deals, the Department of Agriculture is under scrutiny over these rice policies. Today, we break down the numbers and ask the tough questions with DA spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa. ASEC Arnel, thank you so much for making time for us and welcome to Follow the Money.
Hey, Raine, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
We appreciate you joining us. ASEC, the inflation stabilized in January, 2.9%, same as in December, and it's said to be thanks to lower rice prices. Do you feel that the drop was because of lower tariffs on rice? And is a tariff not enough to keep rice prices low and not have to declare a food security emergency?
Yes, Raine. Actually, for the January inflation data, rice registered a negative 2.3 inflation growth rate. So we welcome that very good news on the side of the sector. And most definitely, the imposition of tariff reduction beginning July last year played a big part in reducing or causing the reduction of contribution of rice to the inflation. If you look at the data carefully on the inflation data from July 2023 to June 2024, inflation rate on the average is about 15 to 20%. That's very huge numbers for the rice contribution to inflation. And starting July of 2024, when the tariff change became effective, from August last year to December 2024, we can see a gradual reduction of the inflation to just zero point 0.8 in December, and now January 2025 to negative 2.3. So clearly, the tariff reduction based on EO 62 played a significant role in this achievement.
Right, but if you're already expecting that inflation will be down because of lower rice prices and that tariffs already brought down rice prices, where is this call for declaring a declaration of a food security emergency coming from? What are the main factors you're considering to decide on whether to start and end this emergency?
Yeah, that's a good question. But if you go back again to the increase in prices and the inflation growth rate from July 2023, the increase in prices and the inflation up to June 2024 is so high, and the gradual reduction in inflation from July 2024 and up to now, the level of the prices of rice from July 2023 is not yet enough to say that we reached that level. So the need for the declaration of price emergency or rice sufficiency emergency is needed still to ensure that we can bring back the price of rice to that level prior to July 2023 increase in prices and inflation.
Understood. But what are the benefits of this declaration of a food security emergency for rice?
For the Department of Agriculture and the rice farmers in general, now we can release the stocks of NFA, that's about 300,000 metric tons right now. We can immediately release half of that, 150,000 metric tons. This is very timely because the harvest season starts this February until and will peak March and April. So if these stocks will not be released, then it will be very difficult for NFA to buy or procure fresh stocks. And without NFA in the picture, it will be very difficult to set the procurement price. NFA is buying 21 to 23 pesos for dry and clean, and 17 to 18 pesos for fresh palay. So that will eventually dictate the price of farm gate price of palay. So the role of NFA in the procurement is very important to set the tone for the price for the other traders to follow in.
Arnel, what about, apart from prices, what about demand and supply? Do you feel that we do not have enough supply of rice here in the Philippines, and you're not expecting that supply will be sufficient up until next year, just to be able to so that you declare that emergency?
The volume of rice is not an issue in relation to the declaration of food security emergency. As per Republic Act 12078, there are two bases for such declaration. One is if there's not enough supply, or if there's an extraordinary increase in price. For the supply side, even though we have a significant reduction in production last year compared to 2023, 20 million in 2023, 19 million in 2024, but the level of imports that came into our country reached 4.78 million metric tons in rice form. So we have enough supply. Actually, our estimates from December is about almost 90 days stocks. So going into our harvest season, so we have enough rice for our country. So that's not an issue at all.
Arnel, under the emergency, reports say that the government could lose up to 2.25 billion pesos by selling NFA rice at a discount to LGUs. Given the huge fiscal impact, how does the DA justify this subsidy?
If you look at this issue, Raine, before this comes in, NFA is selling for the longest time 25 pesos to the SWD. So NFA is really operating at a huge loss before, and NFA actually sold the rice after that at 38 pesos per kilo. So if we are now selling at 33, actually the break even is about 35, 36. So the loss is not that huge, but comparing to the benefits, the overall benefits to the agricultural economy and to our economy at large, I guess we can correctly justify this move from the Department of Agriculture.
ASEC, the price cap on imported rice is also set to take effect nationwide. Can you confirm the exact price points, and are there penalties that traders will face if they don't comply?
For the imported rice, classified at 5% broken, normally it's called premium rice. Previously, we set the maximum suggested retail price at 58 pesos. Beginning today, we set it at 55 pesos per kilo. And if the international price of rice will continue to go down, then we can still further slash it to below 50 pesos in a month's time. So that's our target. And aside from this, we'll also be doing the change in labeling to further avoid confusion and further reduce the price.
ASEC Arnel, some experts argue that prioritizing rice imports over local production is easier for government because imported rice faces fewer regulations than locally produced rice. We hear from poultry industry stakeholders of the same. Is this true?
I cannot understand fully the question, but the priority of the department is, as mandated, is local production. So if you look at the ratio of imported rice over locally produced rice, is only about 25%. It might be higher last year, but generally it's only about 20, maximum 25%. And again, we prioritize the welfare of our rice farmers, and all our efforts at the Department of Agriculture is making sure that our farmers will increase their productivity and their income. And importation is largely being done by the private sector. It's no longer being done by the government.
Now, the DA is in talks with Pakistan to import 1 million metric tons of rice annually. What's the timeline for this deal, and are there similar talks with other countries?
Actually, Raine, the DA is open to diversify the source of rice. About 80% of our imports are coming from Vietnam, and then next will be Thailand and Cambodia, Myanmar. And with the freeing up and easing of the export ban of India, we're also looking with India. Of course, Pakistan is also a major player in the total rice trade. So we're just opening up to probably more areas, so that if there are some issues with our regular trading partner, then we can easily go with other countries. But still, Vietnam is one of our reliable partners when it comes to rice import.
The government is targeting 20 million metric tons of rice production in 2025. Where do we stand now? And is this goal realistic given current challenges?
The number one challenge of the sector is really, weather and the climate. Last year, it was really one of the most challenging years for the agriculture sector at large, because during the first quarter, you have the El Nino and then the series of typhoons, plus the La Nina during the last 2 quarters. So we practically lost 1 million metric tons of palay last year, bringing down our productivity to only 19 million metric tons. This year, we are targeting 20.4 million metric tons, barring any huge problem related to climate pattern. But considering our efforts, our strategy, and our resources for this year, we are very much optimistic in reaching that 20.4 million metric tons harvest for the year 2025.
Do you see the dollar exchange, perhaps, the currency exchange, as playing a factor on how expensive rice might become in the coming months?
Yes, Raine. The dollar exchange rate is one of the factors that can impact the price of rice. Actually, there are four. One is the dollar exchange rate, the tariff rate for is one, and then the price at the international market, and lastly, the shipping cost, of course. So any change in these four parameters might have an impact in the price of rice, the landed cost.
And is the department ready for the impact of these possibilities, especially with Trump tariffs playing a part in global trade?
Yeah, that's why we are largely pursuing to increase our productivity this year. In 2023, when we hit the highest recorded ever harvest for rice of 20.06 million metric tons, the import is down by only 3.6 million metric tons. Last year, when we hit a very low of 19 million metric tons, we imported a huge 4.78 million metric tons of rice. So similarly, if our productivity goes up, and of course, consequently, our import also will go down.
Understood. We need to pause for a few reminders, ASEC, but coming up next is the government's rice import plan sustainable, and when can we expect prices to stabilize? Stay on BNC and follow the money. Welcome back to Follow the Money. We're still with Agriculture Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa. ASEC, with your indulgence, we still have three questions to cover in the last 5 minutes of the show. I hope you don't mind if I speed right through them.
Okay.
First of all, is there a timeline as to when the Philippines can expect to reduce its dependence on rice imports? Does the DA have a long-term roadmap for this?
Yeah, indeed, we have a roadmap and a plan under the Masaganang Bagong Pilipinas. And at the end of the president's term, we are hoping to reach a level of sufficiency of at least 95%. Right now, we are in the level of mid 80%, and we still have a long way to go. But with the capacity and the commitment of our farmers and the whole sector, we can really get there.
By what year, ASEC?
By 2028, we're targeting at least 95%.
Understood.
It's a long way to go, but with the resources and the commitment of our entire sector, hopefully we can get there. But with the continuing increase in the population, of course, we cannot. It's very difficult to get 100% sufficiency. Plus, of course, we still have our commitment with the World Trade Organization. So the target really is at least 95%.
We see. We've also taken note of some of the projects of the DA that you're working on to ensure that local production and local farmers would not be disadvantaged. May we inquire as to the status of some of these projects, including the President Marcos has, of course, signed a law classifying smuggling and hoarding of agricultural goods as economic sabotage. We also have the Kadiwa Rice for All initiative in major public markets. Are we still rolling that out nationwide? Plus, there's also satellite data being used to track drought risks affecting agriculture. Is the technology already working to your favor?
Yeah, actually, on the satellite data, we're using the PRISM. It's a project being collaborated with the International Rice Research Institute, and it's giving us valuable information to predict and assess, for of course, one, on damage, and of course our productivity every cropping season. So that's a very important tool that we are now using in collaboration, of course, with our registry system for basic sector in agriculture. So these two tools help us assess and navigate through the entire rice sector. For Kadiwa, we're targeting to have 1,500 outlets by 2028. For this year, we are already at the level of 170 and going into 400 by the end of the year. On smuggling and hoarding, we're very much active in these roles under the Anti-Agricultural Economic Sabotage Law. In fact, BPI has already blacklisted 10 firms in participating into rice importation by suspending the issuance of import clearances with them. So we are doing a lot under this administration to ensure on the digitalization, on subsidy, and of course in ensuring that those doing illegal are really controlled.
We appreciate hearing that you are making inroads in terms of the law, as well as distribution, as well as technology. Switching gears a little bit now, what is the current production in egg output, and does the DA have targets for local egg supply this year?
For egg, actually, at the moment, we have oversupply in terms of egg, and one of our programs really is to encourage our countrymen to really eat egg, because that is the one of the single best source of protein for Filipinos. And actually, we're producing about 13, 14 million eggs a day, and Batangas is the leading province in terms of production of egg. And for this year, because of the interventions of the department and the participation of the private sector, we're seeing actually a good productivity for the layer industry, and the highly pathogenic avian influenza or bird flu is under control. And right now, we don't have any active cases. We have, for previous cases, we have already resolved that.
But there are still a call to actually import more laying eggs, rather the birds for laying eggs. Is that going to proceed?
Actually, for the parent stocks, we call it the PS. We are still importing parent stocks, but right now, as I've said, we have oversupply, and there's a call from the secretary to be proactive because based on his current trip to the United States, the cause of bird flu brought the price of egg there very high level, and there was a huge reduction in the volume. In fact, eggs is being rationed in the U.S. So the department is taking a proactive stance in ensuring that will not happen to us, and our layer industry will sustain or can sustain its productivity until the end of the year.
So again, just to confirm, there is not going to be a shortage of eggs for the whole year of 2025. That's one of the things that you said to us. And at the same time, there's a proactive stance to get parent stock, but for when?
Again, the proactive stance of the department is to ensure that there will be no sudden reduction in the volume of eggs that's produced, including monitoring the prices of egg. Sometimes when there is oversupply of egg, the tendency of the industry is to do culling to the point that there will be significant change in the volume of production, causing increases in price. So that's what the secretary is avoiding. There could be culling, but not to the point that there will be disruptions in the volume of production and the price of eggs.
Yes, Asek. So we are not going to be importing more parent stocks?
For the importation of parent stocks, the Bureau of Animal Industry is on top of everything and ensuring that the volume of parent stocks reaching us is enough to the level that we can sustain the productivity of our total layer industry.
And in their last report to you, when do we need to beef up the parent stocks?
Actually, on a regular basis, there is an importation of these parent stocks and grandparent stocks to our country. So I don't think there's a need for further control about that.
Understood. Thank you so much, DA Spokesperson and Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa, for sharing all your updates and joining us today. We appreciate you sharing your insights. Thank you so much for making time for us. The government is pushing aggressive measures to ensure rice security, but questions remain about the long-term sustainability and fiscal costs. The big challenge now, of course, is balancing affordability for consumers and fair pricing for local farmers. Now, before we go, we leave you with this thought from the most powerful Chinese leader in the 1970s, Deng Xiaoping. He said, "A nation that cannot feed itself is not truly independent." And that's it for today's edition of Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on top.